group of women that we have. I'm excited for this magical group of women that we have joining us today. And we're going to have an amazing conversation. We've got Kelly is going to be joining us here in a moment. We just need to turn her into a panelist because she's been on the backside and waiting in the waiting room for some reason. But Kelly's going to be joining us here just momentarily. And there she is. Yay, Kelly. Great to have you on board, Kelly. You're muted.
There we go. Yeah, I was like
Here we
waiting,
go.
waiting. I was like, what? Aha. It's not like Cammy, but maybe there's technical problems. Anyway.
Well, we got it all fixed. We're all here, and
All good.
this is a magical group of women, guys. I am super stoked to have this conversation. I love talking about how do we bring soul and strategy into our businesses and really do business in a different way right now, because I think that women's wisdom is the medicine our earth needs, and especially when it comes to business. And this circle of women here, you're gonna to love them. If you don't know them already, you're going to fall in love with them. And they all have a really unique bend for being able to look at how do we do business in a very soulful way? How do we do it in a way that is listening to that inner wisdom? How do we bring our how do we play with the energies of what's happening around us? Because we're in time of big change in our world. I mean, if you think about what's happened since the pandemic, and I always think that the pandemic happened for us. I mean, I think it started to really shift things up for us, and and it's evolving. I think women's voices are leading us into the future, and women entrepreneurs are definitely changing how business is done. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm Cammy Guildner. It's such an honor and a pleasure to get to host this group of women. I'm on a mission to raise up 1 million women's voices in their businesses, help them put their messages out into the world, to be seen, be heard, and to grow businesses with more time prosperity and wealth prosperity. I feel like we are in this really special time that we're just putting down that we're not going to do business the way it once was done, and that we're going to do it differently. And so the way we do that is we mix together both the soul and the strategy. So we do both sides of it. And so we listen to our inner wisdom, we listen to our heartfelt ways of being. And when I think about what's shifting and changing, I think women, we are magical at being able to come together in community and in circle and to lift one another up versus being in competition. We are in a space of really being able to just do business differently, right? I mean, I think this is some of the things that we bring in our authenticity, we bring in our compassion. I can think back to my corporate days all those many years ago. I didn't show up very authentically. I was, always trying to portray somebody. And when we can let that go and just truly be who we are, we start to do business differently. We start to attract people into our businesses differently. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. Is how do we do this differently? So we're in a new paradigm of business, and it's going to be super, super fun. What I'd love for you guys to do as you're logging on, drop into the chat who you are, what you do, and where you're joining us from, so we can start to get to know one another. I love to see who's here in the room. And so start to drop that into the chat. And let me just put my chat up so I can actually see stuff showing up. There we go. So excellent. So start to do that. And who's excited to meet these amazing women? And just do a big old shout out for energy. If you're excited to hear and learn from these amazing women. Today, we're going to dive into how do we really align your business from how do you align your business with that inner wisdom that's calling you and with what's happening around us? How do we create more joy in our businesses? How do we unlock new levels of fulfillment and prosperity in our businesses? And we'll even tap into some good tools along the way of how do you really, tap into that inner wisdom that you've got. Every single one of us in this room has. So it's great seeing you guys dropping in where you guys are at and what you're doing. I know you guys are doing amazing things in the world. Even as I look down this right now, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's such good ripple effect already just coming from this room. So let me introduce you to our panelists. So Dr. Kelly Shu, if I say Shu, do I say it right, Kelly?
Yeah, like
Shu?
the shoes on your feet.
Yeah, okay. It's like I was like, oh, wait a minute, am I saying that right? Dr. Kelly Shu is the worth and wealth alchemist, and she's empowering female entrepreneurs through energy medicine and human design for prosperity. As a two-time Amazon bestselling author and international keynote speaker, she leads the women's worth worldwide movement and is the queen of worth sisterhood. So welcome, Kelly. I'm so glad to have you here. Next up, we have Terry Cardula. Terry is a business success therapist and the founder of Creative Counseling Center and Talking with Terry. She is a best-selling author. She's a Forbes coach and the host of the popular YouTube show called Talking with Terry TV. And she's known for her viral videos and empowering female entrepreneurs. And Phoenix Jackson is an award-winning impact leader. She's a communications and business strategist and founder of Phoenix Effect. She empowers leaders through self-actualization and entrepreneurship, offering guidance through her global firm and online academy, Phoenix Effect University. So welcome, guys. I am so thrilled to have you guys all here. And I really I honor the work that you guys are doing, because I know, I've known all of you for like many years. And being able to see the work that you're doing and putting out into the world is part of this leadership of changing how business is done, right? This is this is where we're really starting to change things up. So one of the things for those of you who are listening, as we start diving into some of these questions and stories and all the wisdom everybody's bringing to this room, when you hear something that really resonates with you, type in golden nugget or type in the quote that jumped out at you, but use this chat as a way to really engage with the community and get to know. I mean, you're going to have an opportunity. You can join over on Extraordinary Women Connect and get to know more of the people in the room if you want to, the Facebook community at some point. But this is a way for, as you start to share what's standing out for you, your voice is being heard and being seen. So it's really important. So I'm going to start off here. I'm going to kick us off with, I put a lot of focus in the realm of the changing paradigm of business, right? That business is really shifting up, and how we're being called to just really make a difference with our work. I think women entrepreneurs really want to make a difference. They want to make an impact. So many of us left behind the corporate world behind so that we could go make an impact, right? And as we are leading this shift, I go back to all day long that women's wisdom is the medicine our earth needs. And one of and we're going to get into everybody talking about this, but one of the most important strategies that I've implemented in my business in these last few years, in this changing shift that's really starting to happen, is to really deepen my relationships with my community, looking for how I can deepen my relationships with the people in my community, the people that are coming into my world. And it's, to me, I think people are really hungry for real world connections, right? And I think this is our superpower as women, right? We are superpower. That's our superpower, is that we can connect, we can collaborate, we can uplift one another. And, I've been for a long time known as a great connector. I'm always connecting one great woman to another great woman. I mean, I've done that for years and years. My events have been based on that. But even more so in the last few years, I see this shift has really started to change. And so when I think about tapping into what's happening in our universe right now, in my company, we've really turned up the dial of how can we pour more love onto our community that already knows, loves, and trusts us. And if people are coming into it, how do we invite them into really pouring love into them? And so one of the things I ask for all of you guys who are listening and tuning in today is, how can you build more opportunities for connections and community development in your business? It's something for you to just really ponder, because I think this is where the fire comes into your business, and the more you can bring that in. And when I think about when I create connections, whether it's in my conferences, in my events, even in my retreats that I do, all of these events give people an opportunity to share their stories and create meaningful connections. So I'm just going to toss this out to all of you who's tuned in here is like, how can you create more meaningful conversations and connections in your business with your community? And then the other tip that I'm going to give on this topic is to really create a system to stay in touch with the people that you meet. This is not a numbers game, it's a relationships game, a relationship game, right? So as we, you hear a lot of people say, oh, you need to have thousands and thousands of conversations. It's you need to have meaningful conversations with your people and build those relationships and pour love on them. So that's my tip when it comes to what's happening in our world. So I'm going to turn this over to you guys now. And I'm going to ask you this question. There are two questions here. What's happening energetically in our world, and how can we leverage the shift in our business? And then the second part of the question is, what is the single most important strategy that you have implemented in your business to set your business up for growth during this time? So I'm just going to start with how I see you guys on the screen. So Terry, I'm going to have you kick this one off.
Perfect. Yeah, so I just think that what I've been seeing with a lot of clients, obviously we are all experiencing these massive shifts, right? And what I have seen is like this purging of negativity and how this light is emerging. And so I use this funny metaphor of like, I feel like we're giving this opportunity to let go, release, and purge what is no longer serving us. And so it's almost like we used to have a mirror that was like over here, and we were like, as entrepreneurs or business owners or career focused individuals, we'd be like, you know what, do I want to work on myself? And you're like, oh gosh, no, that's awful. Well, the mirror has moved over here, and we no longer can like avoid the inevitable transformation. We can no longer avoid the transformation of what is happening. And so we have the mirror right in front of our face now, and it's requiring us to take a look at what's coming up for us, what is no longer serving us, and how to release it in a way that's going to serve us in the highest and greatest good. Because for most of us, we've gone through life where, things, behaviors, attitudes, systems, things served us to a point. And then we get to a point where it stopped serving us, and we tried to keep carrying it through. And now we're at that point of realization that it stopped serving here, but we're here now, right? And so it's just this really beautiful opportunity to really take a look at what's not serving us and letting go of what that means for us. And each and every one of our journeys is going to be different. And so how do we release to create the peace movement, right? It's kind of like the lotus flower, right? The lotus flower is coming up through all this murky darkness, and then once it gets to the surface, once it's evolved, and it blooms this beautiful, flower, right? So I think that's where we're at. And so is it going to be fun and easy and butterflies and unicorns and fairy dust? I wish it was. But that's just not right now. The other thing that I'm seeing too, and is these extreme highs where everything's going all amazing, and then like it could be within 24 hours, and it's like whack, and these extreme lows. And so people are in this extreme highs and extreme lows right now as we're starting to recalibrate, if you will. And so just know that you are supported, know that you're loved. And so the second part of the question, one of the things that I have been strongly encouraging people to do and to create a practice of doing is really grounding in our energy, because so often we are just picking up people's energies that don't belong to us. And I used to protect my energy, years ago, only if I was surrounded around large crowds, large people, traveling through airports, things like that. But in the last 5 years, I've been protecting my energy every single day, because there's just so much energy that's being flown to us. So one of the things that I'll have people do is just earthing. So going out, being in nature, sitting, standing, and earthing for at least 20 minutes to really ground in and stay grounded in. The other thing is doing this exercise where you can allow any scattered energy, grabbing all the energy that's scattered, bringing it in, and any energy that you took on from other people. All you have to do is say, return to center with consciousness. so that you can just stay really grounded and whole in and this, it requires daily practice so that you're not feeling so scattered, because right now, in order to move through, we've got to be really strong and staying grounded in our own energy so that we're not, being tempted with this other chaotic energy that's happening around us.
So many good tips in there. And I do think it's that inner work is so important right now. And I love that you say that we wish it could be all rainbows and butterflies, but it's not, right? And it's like, and at the end of the day, as entrepreneurs, we're doing some of our biggest work, right? Some of the work that we're doing is helping us evolve. And that's what's leading us into the future. So that's so important. I love the thoughts of, I love the earthing and the grounding and, just being in that space. So thank you, Terry, for that, those tips. I really appreciate it. Okay. How about you, Phoenix?
Mute. I was on mute. Yes, yes. First off, Terry, that was awesome because I've been seeing that extreme of the highs and lows very much right now. It's almost like spirit is jilting people to align. That's the word of the year. I feel like is alignment, to align us where we're supposed to be. As far as like to answer your question, Cami, when it comes to strategy, when it comes to what people can do regarding their business, I think most women-owned businesses, as we are the fastest growing market of entrepreneurs, most women-owned businesses are like solopreneurs. They're solopreneurs, or they have small teams. Maybe they have like a few contractors underneath them as they're building. And I would say you need to identify what type of flame are you. So I categorize entrepreneurs into 3 different buckets. They're either a fire starter, a fire stoker, or a fire simmerer. Simmerer is probably not a word, but I made it up. And those people who are fire starters, I consider myself to be a fire starter. Those are your visionaries. Those are the people that step into space. They set it ablaze. They come in, they see what's wrong. They're like, oh, I got a solution to this. They are thinking fast, and they're moving even faster into spaces of, finding solution. And then but they're not the system over long periods of time. They use so much energy to start out that 3 months down the line, maybe they're a little burnt out on that project and they kind of need to move on. Their brain does not sit well sitting with something for an extended period of time. And then you have the stokers. Those are the directors, those people who can take ideas and they can materialize them into systems. They can say, oh, this is what you need to do with your web. This is what you do with your marketing. This is what you need to do with your comms. They're able to actually make sure that the systems flow, and they're able to direct and manage people. And they're also able to take the information from a visionary and materialize it. And then you have the simmerers. They are the people who are actually like those, the people who can sit there for long periods of time and continue things and make sure that the flame still keeps going, right? So think about your assistants, your executive assistants. Think about your managers who've been working, in their role for 10, 20 years, right? Those are the simmerers. They can keep the system going. They make sure there's enough coal in the fire to kind of like really keep it going. What I have found in this day and age is that as an entrepreneur, you're trying to play all 3 buckets. You're trying to stoke, you're trying to start, you're trying to simmer. And the best time and to make more money, you gotta pick a lane. And I know we are super women, right? And we think that we can do it all, and we can. But if we want to go further, we gotta streamline our energy into the pathway that works best for us. And we all do have pluses in each box, right? But the more that we're spread thin, our strengths get diminished. So think about which bucket are you? I'm a fire starter, and I realize that. So I have tailored my world and my own little personal universe to fit around the fact that I don't want to be somewhere for extended periods of time. I can work with a client for a certain amount of time, and I've pivoted and made certain decisions over the last decade, knowing that, hey, I'm a fire starter. I'm gonna get you going, but I don't have the bandwidth to keep you going for the rest. Although, to be fair, with Phoenix Effect, I've had clients for 10 plus years. I've people who work with me. But again, I go in there and I set their next project ablaze, and then so I want you to think about, what are you best at? And then pivot yourself to that, and then delegate things off to the next person. There's Upwork, there's Fiverr, there's people who will do that simmering work for you if you find yourself to be more of like a stoker, more of a director. There are people that can come in and coach you and be the visionary for you if you find that you're not quite a fire starter. You want someone to think a little bit for you, and then you want to do the work. You take pride in the work, but put yourself in that box. I hate to say like put yourself in a box, but in this case, to make more money and to expand, sometimes you have to contract. And sometimes you have to get into a space of simplification. And I would say the biggest strategy that I personally have implemented, and I've also got my clients and friends to do, is to implement simplicity. What can we do to simplify so that we can go further and we can sustain our energy for that next step, right? And with that as well, think about your audience and ask them, what do they want to see from you? I remember a couple of years ago, I sent out a questionnaire. It was like a 10-question questionnaire to my audience. And I said, hey guys, what do you all want? Like, I know that I'm doing a lot, but what do you want specifically? And I would say 80% of those responses were, where's your YouTube channel? Why aren't you talking enough? Stop working on everybody else's stuff. And we want to see more of Phoenix Jackson. Like, I know you're working with this, but like, we want to see you more. We want to understand how you got to the place that you are. Now, it took me 1.5 years to start the YouTube channel, but I did, but they requested that. So also another strategy is just to simply get on Typeform or ask your network, what do they specifically want to see from you? Because they've been watching you and they've been paying attention, and they may very much want to know or see something specific. They may say, hey, you talked before about, how to get grants. Can we see more of that? I want to learn how to get grants more. Like they can tell you what they're looking for. So first, figure out which flame you are so that you can simplify and delegate.
Yeah.
And then also ask your audience, what do they want from you?
Cool. I love that, Phoenix. Those are beautiful. And I think the whole knowing what your strengths are, stepping into that light of what you stand for. Somebody asked can you be 2 out of the 3, stoker and a simmer? I'm guessing you probably can be, right? I mean, I'm guessing you can kind of cross over, but I also love the fact that what you're saying is really find your superpower and simplify. And I think simplifying is, and I'm going to chat about simplifying before we're done for sure, because that's something that's important to me. But I love this. I love how you're really working with the fire starters here, right? Or the flames. So that's awesome.
Yes.
How about you, Kelly? Let's hear from you now.
Yeah. So gosh, I love this conversation. Everything just like Terry starting us off with grounding, and then Phoenix with the fire. And I love simplification. In fact, I say simplify to amplify. So the perspective that I come from is I really believe that scarcity is an illusion. And we are living in a world where if you follow mainstream, you're going to get exposed to a lot of fear and a lot of lack and a lot of scarcity and a lot of the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. And so if you want to stay in that place of abundance, you're really going to want to take that time to turn inward. It's that bear medicine, that introspection, because in a marketplace that on the outside, I've watched the coaching and consulting industry, and nowadays, I mean, it seems like everyone is a coach and consultant. And so as women, I think that we can tend to want to serve everyone. And in trying to serve everyone, we're losing out on the person and the organization that we are meant to serve. So I think we need to know who we are and what are our unique gifts and talents. And so I think that we are in an epoch of individualization. And so we saw it with like the movement of social media. Like people are like, look at me. And it's my first impression of that was like, oh, really? Like it seems so narcissistic, right? And yet what's happening is I think people are learning more about who they are and how they're different, and to really invite you to own that. And if you really own that, so one of the things that I use in my practice, I use human design to really determine like, who are you uniquely? What are your greatest strengths? You know, ideally, who are you here to serve? Who is that avatar? So I think that during this time, the more you can have that discernment of, I am meant to serve this person with this need, your voice is going to be heard in the marketplace like never before. And then there is no competition because there's no one like you on the planet. So if you're really anchoring in that individualization and doing that inquiry and spending that time in nature and with spirit and having a coach and a team by your side that's collaborating with you, that's how you're going to stand out in the marketplace. And it reminds me of a story when I was down in Mexico with a high level group. I'm in a mastermind, and we went down there. We went to swim with dolphins. And so the captain is coming out. And it's like, the pod is there. It's out in the distance, and you see the fins. And so we're all getting excited, and we're putting on our masks and our fins, and we're getting up on the side of the boat as the boat slows down. And he said, "All right, ladies, jump in." So we all jump in, and it's just totally chaotic with the fins flapping and bubbles, and we're in that place of chaos like we often are in business, and it seems like everyone's going for the same thing, the same outcome, the same avatar. And finally I was like, enough. This is ridiculous. This is work, and this sucks. And so I stopped, and I looked around, and I looked up at the sun, and I felt the wind on my cheek, and in the distance is my friend Elizabeth. I was like, let's call the dolphins to us. We don't need to hustle, right? And so that's what we did. So we started making chirping sounds like dolphins do, called them in, and I would not believe the fins turned around and came to us. So I invite you to not chase after the red ocean where there's competition. Know the blue ocean moments. Know who you are, who you're here to serve, and land in your individuation. So that's the biggest thing. Know who you are and who you're here to serve, and that's how you stand out.
Love it, love it, love it. And I think we're so aligned on that, Kelly. I mean, it's just really, it's like, when we build our brands from that inside out of who we are, there's no one just like you. So I totally agree with you on that. So let's go into this next question. Being an entrepreneur can be messy, even when we're doing our best soul work. I mean, so Terry hit on this already, right? Every successful entrepreneur I know has traveled down this windy road, right? It's never a straight line from here to there. It's like we take these different journeys to get to where we're at, and we've worked hard. I mean, I hesitate even using the word work hard, because it can be misconceived, and it can be going into overworking, and it can go into being a workaholic and having no boundaries. But when we have boundaries, when we start to say, okay, I'm going to be focused, that this is where we start to get into this space of creating businesses that we really, that create the impact and the business that we want. So my question for you guys is, how do you stay in aligned action, ensure that you're on track to create the impact and business you desire? So Kelly, I'm going to hand that to you for this time around.
Yeah. So how do I stay aligned, right?
Yeah. How do you stay aligned in aligned action?
In
right?
aligned
In
action.
aligned action, because we can be spiritual and we can do all of our inner work, but we've got to get the work done too, right? So it's both sides of this.
Yeah, you got to get the work done. So I'm going to answer it both from the masculine and the feminine. Cool. So from the masculine, in the doing of the doing, I know how I'm wired to make the right decisions for myself and my business and those I serve. And so it's this gut instinct. And so instead of like just trying to do all the things all at once, it's like determining, okay, right now is this the thing I need to focus on right now? And I'll get a uh-huh or a right? And so that it's that discernment of right action, right time. And so that is how I stay aligned with in the inaction, because it's like, oh, I could put energy into this and this and this, and I could be kind of the approach of like everything all at once, and it never works. It never lands. And so that's how I stay in aligned action, is taking a hot minute to turn in and allow my body to be the compass. So that's kind of how do I align in action. Now, if I am constantly in action, I actually, even though I have a ton of energy, and you might notice that about me, I spend immersion times in nature where I'll go out and I'll backpack by myself out in the middle of nowhere and have that divine feminine really restore me. So if it weren't for the divine feminine time, the actual action time wouldn't be in alignment. So both.
Oh, so awesome. I love that because we do have to have both sides of that. And we can't be our best if we haven't made those pauses, if we haven't made that white space for ourselves. So
Yeah.
brilliant. Okay. How about you, Phoenix?
Yes, so I I think that what keeps me specifically aligned in business, and I'll go personal in a second, is that I have a moniker for my company, like moving the human collective forward. So if something does not fall under that, it's an automatic no. You know, a lot of times when we're either in survival mode or we're trying to make that next contract, we can say yes to things that are not within alignment with where we want to go, who we want to serve, and just like our own positive impact that we want to have. So I would ask everyone in the audience to actually write a tagline of what's your ideal work? What's your ideal goal? And if it just doesn't fit into that, it's a no. And be okay with that because for every no that even you delve out, you're going to have more yeses that come along. Also, I've taken a lot of sort of inventory on how my self-saboteur has shown up. And I would ask everyone to do this as well. As we think about our journey, think about how you have set yourself back. So for me personally, I've always noticed that when I was ready to fly and like major things were getting ready to happen, I, by chance, every time attracted weighty situations from family members and friends. Maybe I took temporary adoption over two family members, true story. Or I allowed a friend who was homeless and her children to come and live with me, true incident as well. Like I took on very weighty situations when things were just gelling in such a space of alignment. And it was part of my saboteur energy showing up where I tried to slow myself down and contract myself because I was so afraid of the expansion that was happening. Like I couldn't control the expansion, so I attracted something to kind of put me back down, shrink me down a little bit. So everyone's saboteur shows up differently. So I want you to take inventory of your journey and think about like, how have you actually slowed yourself down? How have you gotten in your own way? And then make sure you don't do that. Make sure that you give yourself a chance to get to where you really want to go. Those are my two strategies. So again, with business, make sure that tagline, that core message, that is your GPS in your business. If it doesn't fit into that, let it go. And then personally, look at how you've actually gotten in your own way and think about those patterns so that you can fix it and that if something blocks you from succeeding in the future, it's not you, right? It's something you can't control, not something that you can control.
I love that. I so love that because it's like and I see it all the time where people like just start to shrink, right? They literally start to pull back in the mix of all the fire that they're in. So yeah, it's really good to be cognizant of, when are we expansive and when are we kind of plain smaller.
Yes.
So good. And I love also having that moniker that that you can lean back into and say, this is mine. This is what keeps me on track. How about you, Terry?
Yeah, I think for me, like staying in aligned action, back in the day, I was struggling to be the perfectionistic, being, right, and doing all things to all people. And when I realized that would often like take me off course, like the other ladies were saying. And so I am now like more committed than ever in my business is making sure that I'm following the energy. So I'm saying yes to what means yes and no to what means no, even turning down. A couple of years, 3 years ago, Oxygen Network called me and said they had this 3-hour segment that they wanted me to do. And I got a no, and I kept getting no, 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 no. And I turned down this opportunity, and people were like, you've lost your mind. And that one opportunity could have destroyed the reputation of my other company. And I'm so grateful that I said no to it. And so one of my little hacks is I use kinesiology, so muscle testing. I do this internal process called sensing, and so that I can be saying yes to what means yes and no to what means no, and know that when um, we have so many. I mean, we do live in an abundant place, right? And so I will joke that we have these layers, these shelves of possibility. And so even if its timing is not right now, it doesn't mean that that's a no forever. That opportunity can go back on the shelf, and when it's ready, it will indicate to us. It will shine bright, and we're like, oh, now this opportunity comes. So I will use the shelf of possibilities all the time. But the other thing too that comes up for me is that oftentimes when we're heading through to something, if it's there's a little tweaking process that we require. So when we're shown contrast, oftentimes people are like, oh gosh, that means I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing this, I'm beating myself up, and oftentimes the contrast is shown to us so that we can have awareness to tweak the process so that we can get back in alignment. And so take that contrast as an awareness, tweak the process until that you continue to align. And once you align and once you're speaking life into that you truly desire, it will come to you faster and faster, and you become this magnetic manifester. And you're like calling things in instead of going like what Dr. Kelly said is chasing things. It's so much easier when you're calling it in and allowing it to show up versus chasing it, because that comes from that masculine force energy, which does not serve anyone. Just ask me how I know that. We'll have another conversation offline.
We all know it for that reason, right? I mean, because we've all pushed and pushed, and and it's not when it happens for us. I have a couple things on that. How the heaviness of not having a decision made can be really big in our businesses, right? So if like a decision is waiting on us, and we're waiting and we're waiting and we're waiting. This is mine. This is what I tune to all the time. I'm always, I use my pendulum all the time when I'm in a space of like, well, just get this decision out of the way. Right. And, so if you don't know pendulums, just like you put it out there and you wait, is it going clockwise? Is it going counterclockwise? And I tell you what, it's treated me, it's guided me correctly always. I mean, I can go back to 2020 when, in January 2020, I was really trying to decide whether I should invest in getting on more stages or getting on more podcasts. And I was in that kind of back and forth, January 2020. And the pendulum told me that I really should go with pendulum and my gut, right? I mean, we're listening to our gut as well. And it told me that, yes, you should invest in podcast guesting. So I did invest in 2020 in podcast guesting. Best decision ever, right? When I had to switch my Ignite conference in that same year over to a virtual in about May of 2020, I was like, do I just make this call? Because I was waiting. It's like, do I wait? Do we just, what's going to happen here? I leaned into, that intuition, leveraged the pendulum, make it a virtual event in 2020. And obviously that was a very correct decision to make. So we get those kind of opportunities like that. And the other piece that's kind of jumping out for me is I just had the amazing story happen this week where I was listening to a Sounds True podcast, and it was a woman who was talking about working with mediums and how do you really tap into connections with spirit from the other side. And I've worked with a really amazing medium over the years named Rebecca Rosen, and Rebecca's pricing has gone up to like $3,000 an hour. It's gone like way high, right? I mean, she's good. I mean, she's amazing. I've had amazing experiences with her. And I was listening to this podcast, and I was like, oh gosh, I would really love to do some more work with Rebecca. I'm just going to put it out there. That afternoon, I had somebody call me and invite me into a session with Rebecca Rosen for free for an hour. I mean, it happened in that day, right? It's like, so when we start to like show up in alignment and be true to what is there, it starts to happen around us. And I think that's really exciting. I do want to answer this question for myself, and I'll be brief on this part of it because I want to jump to some audience questions here as well. But when I think about what helps me stay in aligned action, the biggest thing that I have done in my business that's really helped me stay in aligned action to create the business that I want, and Kelly hit on this a little bit already, it's like really simplifying our businesses, right? It's like be uber focused on who we serve, be in tune with that customer journey, what's keeping, what are the stories they're in right now, And the more that we can be aligned with that soul client of who, that we want to be bringing into our businesses, into what's the stories, what's there for them, it simplifies our marketing. It simplifies what our offerings are. And that was really big for me. I let go of lots of different products in the last several years because they weren't part of the core of what I was helping my clients with. So the more I could simplify my business with fewer products, serving a very specific niche, serving a very specific, my marketing became simpler, my offerings became simpler, and it becomes the structure that I'm able to serve my clients with. So that's one of the things that's really helped me, is just to be so aligned to my clients. Okay, so we've got some questions, and if you guys have any questions that that have come up so far, you can drop them into the chat. We did have some pre-submitted questions. So the first one is from Julia, and she said, I really need to find a way to manage my time better for my business, and my mind just hasn't found the right fit for time management. So getting my mind to open up to possibilities outside of what I am doing right now would be great. Just maybe like a 45-second response to that. Just jump out there, whoever would like to respond to that. Go ahead, Kelly.
I'll pop in. I was just doing this morning with a client, and we thought we were going to do 90-day planning for her, and the energy wasn't there. I said, we can't create from that place. I said, all right, 2 minutes. I'm going to set a timer. I want you to brain dump everything that's on your mind. And then we looked at it and I said, okay, let's scan the energy. Which one has the most energy that's calling out and jumping off the page? And that's where we started. So following the energy to what's calling you to pay attention to it and address it. Right then, right there. And the timer is magical because you get all this stuff out of here and then you start to tune into the body, into energy. So that's one of my favorite tactics. Yep.
Oh, I love that. That's brilliant. How about you, Terry or Phoenix? Do you have something to add to that?
Oh, I think she got it.
She got it.
Yeah. So is it just, can you repeat the question of is it just getting clarity on what to go, or is it more?
It's how the right fit. Her mind hasn't really found the right fit for time management. So getting her mind to open up to possibilities outside of what she's doing now would be great, because time management hasn't really worked for her.
Yeah. And I would also say managing distractions, because I think a lot of times we think about, oh, we got to manage this piece of it, but also looking at what, again, when we're saying yes to what means yes, no, and testing things, we can get really quickly of the distractions, but also time blocking. I'm a big fan of time blocking. I know that's not for everyone, but I know exactly my day is scheduled out, like how, where I'm going to put people, what specific is this task, is this meeting, is this discovery calls, is this clients, where does it go? Because then I have a compartmentalized area, and then I allow also for manifestation to happen, because I will put in their spaces for ideal clients to show up. Here's my spaces that I can call and speak life into that. So time blocking is also another big win for me.
I love that. And I think the other thing I'll just throw in there is energy, or is manage your energy versus managing your time, right? And that, I think, has been one that's really, because Kelly kind of hit on it, if you're not feeling it, you're going to show up in that energy, right? But if you can say, okay, this is what my energy needs right now to really help me turn that dial up, that we can really leverage that, how we show up in our businesses in a better way. Okay, so I have another question here. How do we make our communications more powerful during this time? So we had two people, both Michelle and Sam, had questions around how can we bring to life the art of talking about our work in an engaging and connecting way during this new paradigm of business. So how do we really leverage communication in a different way? And Phoenix, you're a communication person. So why don't you kick us off?
So my first thing I would say is stay away, or not stay away, but don't lean on AI right now, which is what a lot of people are doing to lend their voice to social media. I would say make it as humanistic as possible. What I'm seeing that's really working is just the simple storytelling. Where are you now? Show a little bit of vulnerability. What are some things you struggle with? How did you overcome those things? Know that we're all a collective conscious. So a lot of what you're going through, there's a whole set of millions of people going through that very same thing. And what you think you need to share, there are people waiting to hear it. So be fearless and just actually step out and share, but make it human, make it very warm. Be open about like the things that you're experiencing, some of the failing that you've dealt with, some of your successes. But I would say to communicate, be clear also about really wanting your audience to take from the moment. What, like, sit in their seat and hear yourself from them. What do you want them to get from hearing you communicate? When I mean hearing, I'm also thinking about newsletters, social media, verbal, all of those things. How do you want them to perceive you, and what are they gaining from what you're sharing? Also, be consistent. And I say this, and I'm speaking to myself in this. Be consistent with the communication, because when people know that like you have something, you have nuggets to share, they want to hear more consistently from you. And make it a realistic goal and consistency. If you can't crank out some social media posts or your YouTube or your newsletter once a week, then make it once every 2 weeks or once a month. With yourself about how much you actually want to communicate, because that's literally a full-time job within itself. And then, and then do it, just knock it out. But I would say that I hate to use the word because I know everybody using the word authenticity, but I would say share who you feel
Be
comfortable
vulnerable.
with sharing. Share who and what you feel comfortable with sharing. Like, share the pieces of you that may be a little bit vulnerable, but only the pieces that you're comfortable with sharing about yourself.
Yeah.
But share something, because everyone's trying to fit into the mold, and you don't want to be in the mold, right? You want to be your own self, and you want them to see a different personality and something new when they deal with you. So be authentic in your expression as much as you possibly can. I know it's tough. And then put yourself in the audience's shoes. Like, what are they getting from this? How are they absorbing
Excellent.
it? Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. We have one more question from Teresa. How do you stay resilient and maintain your vision during times of significant change? So we've got stuff happening all around us, and how do you keep your focus? So whoever would love to jump in on that one.
I can say that I can just reiterate just again, I think there's so much that's being thrown at us, and clarity is queen in this case. And so staying rooted too, and even if you have to go back and revisit, why am I doing this? I mean, honestly, as entrepreneurs, if we're working 50, 100 hours, like seriously, like why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Right?
We
We've
don't want
got
to
to
be
get
doing that.
smarter, not harder, but really connecting back to that why and making it present and known, and really connecting into it on the vibrational stance as well. Kind of going into, we can work smarter, not harder. And one of the ways that I've, helped support people doing that is really honing into connecting with more people in the way through speaking. And every single one of us on this call, on this panel, are speakers. So how do you get that message out there to connect to more people with, more potency? And yeah.
Cool. 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 Okay. I want to jump into our final question. Phoenix, we'll kick off with you. So what I'd like to hear from you is was one more pearl of wisdom from you as it pertains to creating more prosperity in your business in this energetic time of change, and then also share where people can connect with you.
So my company, Phoenix Spec, has been around for 19 years. We have mainly gotten business through word of mouth and referral. That's been our bread and butter and how we've gotten it all these years. What I've noticed is that when I take the chance to step out and go to maybe a CEO retreat, or some type of networking event, or something that's centered around people of like mind coming together, I make great connections. So my pearl of wisdom for those people who, like me, I generate a lot of energy and I get exhausted. I'm a fire starter, and I have started fires everywhere, and I get exhausted. So I don't often have time or desire to meet new people and meet new clients. But for those people who want to meet new people, clients, I would say start off practically about once a month, showing up, getting out, looking nice, showing up as your, that self that you want to present yourself as, and show up and network and talk to people, and just get out there and communicate with people and practice just sharing who you are, what you do, because you're going to find someone in those groups that is going to be interested in partnering with you, working with you, connecting with you, or having you be in front of their audience in some way, shape, or form. And I would also say, like, don't stop learning. I'm always reading a new book. Or you guys see my library behind me. Like, I would say I know about 40% personally of the authors in my library. I love reading. So I would say don't stop learning as well. So force yourself to get out the house, get out in front of the computer, and go meet new people. But then also, read, get an online academy. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Find something inexpensive that can keep you learning some new skills, or learning about all the changes that are happening with AI, generative AI, with, how to run your own PR, how to do your own marketing with the use of AI and Canva. Like, there's always these free trainings. So charge yourself once a month, just once a month, y'all. I'm just saying once a month, to just do 1 or 2 hours of some kind of free training online where you can learn a new skill, you know? So that's what I would say, like, is why all these doing,
Cool.
well, I forced myself to learn.
And where can they connect with you?
You guys can find me on phoenixeffect.com or Phoenix_Jackson_ on Instagram. You can look at the Phoenix Effect, and that's on, that's online, it's on YouTube, but YouTube is probably the best place. I really want to grow that audience, and yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
How about you, Terry?
So the question was just like final wisdoms. I would say,
find a pearl of wisdom.
I would say, just because this time is so chaotic, is find a mantra that serves you now. One of the things that I will say is, like, I may be rocking in my chair saying, this is happening for me, not to me. The other one that I love saying is the wonky statement, which goes like this: everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. 3 times, because it's like the mirror on the back of the mirror, and there's a caution sign, right? And it says, caution, objects may appear closer than they are. We are thrown a different reality right now. And so when we say that statement, it actually allows us to stop making stories, because we haven't seen the full picture yet. And so we are being given some really wonky information right now. So if we don't give meaning to it, we allow ourselves to be in neutrality. Energy loves neutrality. So I would say, and I'll throw that statement in the chat so everyone has it. And then where can people connect with me? Talkingwithterry.com. That's TERI.com. Check us out on YouTube, talkingwithterry.com, or YouTube at Talking with Terry, and connect and collaborate over there. And I'll throw that in chat.
Thank you, Terry. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. And Kelly, Dr. Kelly.
Yeah, so my pearl of wisdom, and what I'm really exploring right now, I love the metaphor of fire, and as it relates to money, because I just spent some time in Montana backpacking, and if you show up there with a bunch of credit cards and $100 bills, the grizzly bears don't care. And so I think we're living in a time where structures are changing, our relationship to money. Money is energy. So just remember that prosperity is energy, and it's a frequency. And if you want to stay in your sovereignty and trust your body and trust your wisdom, surround yourself with other people that are doing the same thing. So I think it's a time where we need to really collaborate locally and be in the energy field of those that we love and the other women that we're here to support, because collaboration is the next currency. I mean, it really is. And Kemi, you are modeling that so well. So be mindful of who you surround yourself, like know thyself, and then call in your tribe. And you got to have a local tribe. So that's what I would say right now is really going to make the difference in the long haul. And you can find me at Dr. Kelly Shue. It's on all the social media platforms, and it's also my website, Dr. Kelly Shue. And I'd absolutely love to connect.
So good. So good. And I so appreciate that. Find your community, right? Have that tribe of people, because when we can collaborate, and these have been so much fun. I think this is my 5th roundtable I've done so far. This is totally a part of my future, what I bring out into the world, because I love these conversations. They're so much fun. So my pearl of wisdom for you all is, really to tap into your rhythm, right? Find your rhythm, your natural rhythm. I just heard the best quote, and I'm not going to remember it exactly, but it's like, it's not that we have too much to do, but we're actually living outside of the rhythm of our nature. So every one of us has our own unique rhythm and how we show up in nature. And so if we can really learn what that rhythm is, where do you need the white space? Where do you need the expansiveness? And then where can you do the hard work? So learning to be able to, be between both sides of it. And when you do that, if you really find your own rhythm, you can really start to simplify. You can start to create more time prosperity in your business and your life, and more wealth prosperity in your business and your life. And so that balance of finding your rhythm of how you show up at your best, how you take care of you, is what's going to really be the way that your light's going to shine the brightest. So that's me. Couple of ways you can connect with me. Next month, I am going to be doing on July 25th a free training called Simplify to Multiply, More Time and More Dollars in Your Business. So this is an online training. I will be doing that on July 25th. And then I've got my 10th annual Extraordinary Women Ignite conference coming up on October 24th through 26th in Colorado. 10 years of doing this event. I know I had both Terry and Phoenix on my stage at Ignite. Kelly, we're going to get you on there some year. Definitely. We have amazing speakers this year. We have a woman who has climbed all of the second highest summits on all 7 continents. She's going to be talking about We Can Do Hard. So she has great stories. We have an amazing lineup of speakers. So go check that out. If you use the code, the promo code ENERGY by this coming Friday, you're going to get $100 off of your registration. So just as you go out to that website, you can get that. And be connected with me. I'm on all the socials. So be connected with me wherever you like to play on social. And I just want to take this moment to thank Terry and Phoenix and Dr. Kelly. Thank you guys for joining me in this conversation. I knew this was going to be a fun conversation with just so much wisdom. So thank you all for playing with me and bringing all of your good wisdom. Hey,
Thank you, Cami. This is amazing.
Yes.
you bet. And
Thank
thanks
you. This was
everyone.
awesome.
And thanks everyone who joined us today. And join us next month at the Simplify to Multiply, and we'll do another roundtable in August. So we've got another roundtable coming up. So we're doing roundtables every other month. So anyway, thanks everyone.
All right,
Talk
thank
to
you.
y'all later. Bye.